All right, welcome back to the Sam Sorbo Show. It's great to have you here and my guest, Tina Descovich, who is a mom on fire for her new organization called Moms for Liberty. She noticed what was happening in the schools. She actually ran for school board and won and tried to serve on the school board and was thwarted at every turn with her terrible, terrible conservative values. How dare she try to protect children? And Tina, first of all, welcome to the program.
Hi, Sam. Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
So I just did a segment on the pornography that's running rampant in the classroom, and we can get to that. I think I can't remember why you ran for school board, but you served as a school board chair of the 10th largest district in Florida, which is a state that skews conservative, and yet you really struggled to get anything done, right?
Yes, at least with the conservative values that you're talking about. So, our district is the 10th largest in the state, but 47th largest in the country. In Florida, we have school districts the size of counties. And so they're very large districts. That was one of the reasons you can't get anything done. It's just a huge bureaucracy, and trying to make change is very difficult. But also, especially towards the end of my term, I served from 2016 to 2020. Even our conservative county started leaning very left, which you can see I lost my reelection to a very liberal progressive woman.
And so let's take a step back. What exactly were you trying to change? What were the new things that you wanted to get implemented that got caught in the bureaucratic wheels that don't move?
Oh goodness, you things as simple as, we'll get into the more serious issues, but things as simple as trying to get real grade A chicken in our lunches took over a year to change because of the bureaucracy and the levels of everything that have to be approved. So it's just very hard to turn a ship. So when you wanted to get into more serious issues like curriculum or things that are being taught with, throughout our 5,000 teachers, with our 70 plus thousand students, that's a very hard thing to change, especially when people have beliefs and values different from one another. So I ran in 2016. Even back then, like I started running in 2015, it was curriculum was one of my major concerns. We still were fighting Common Core at the time. There were a lot of things that my son, who was in middle school at the time, was bringing home. He brought home a project at one point that he got 100. It said 100 plus A, great job. And it was a whole presentation he did that I didn't know about that said Christopher Columbus, war criminal, crimes against humanity. It was this huge presentation. And I was shocked, A, that my own son that I raised believed this, and B, that the teacher thought it was just so phenomenal that it was, extra credit worthy.
Okay, wow. And I've got goosebumps because I think this is a cautionary tale for parents. Because would you say that you are an involved mom?
100%. Up until that point, all through his elementary school, I was, the PTO president. I had my own office at the school that they just kind of gave me because I was there so much, doing so much for the school. I volunteered in the front office so that I would see who was being checked in and who was at the school. I was extremely involved. And at home, extremely involved. I mean, we do things like, we let my kids know the preamble by the time they're like 6 or 7 year old to the Constitution. So we teach stuff at home. And for my own son to bring that home was a wake up call.
How did he get that project done without you even knowing that he was doing it? Do you know?
I don't know. It wasn't like science fair. It wasn't a 9 month project, but it was a display that he had unfolded, and he did it at school. And so he brought it home. But that was just one of the many concerning things. I've made a whole folder and a whole box of items that I've seen over my years of being a parent with kids in school and then serving on the school board. Just
Is
by the
that
time. Go
it
ahead.
was that sort of the tipping point that made you run for school board, or what's the timing on that?
I'll tell you what actually like pushed me over the edge to run for school board is when I realized I had a voice at a level higher than just my local school with my children. We were fighting Common Core and some things that the state was doing at the time, and they had recently passed a statute that mandated more high stakes testing, and it really bothered me. And I didn't understand the rationale. I didn't agree with it. I didn't agree with tying teacher pay to it. And so we made appointments with our legislators, and in a matter of weeks, we had that law reversed. There was it just learning that you could go in and make appointments and talk to them and have a conversation and help them understand another point of view. It was remarkable to me the impact you could have, and I thought I could do this. I could be involved. I can run for a position and make a difference.
Why do you think you didn't think that that was available to you until a sort of push came to shove and you were like, wait a minute, I got to figure out if there's anything I can do about this, because this is the tipping point for me. This is the thing that I really disagree with, that I want to fight back on.
I think most parents and moms feel the way I do. We'll talk probably in a little bit more about the organization I've started since, and I'm in touch with moms all over the country now. And this is what I hear again and again. You feel small. You feel you're focused in on your family at your home and your kids, maybe at the school level, maybe you run for PTO president like I did, but I think that's about as far as you think your reach and influence can go. And that's not the case at all.
And you feel small because you went to public school and they told you to sit down and shut up and raise your hand if you had a question, but don't ask questions and don't be wrong. And so you were trained to behave. And
Well,
it's
it,
only
it just
until it gets to a point where you're like, whoa, 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 hold on, back the truck up because this is too far. But up until then, you're like, well, I guess they know what they're doing. I guess because, I went to school and the teachers knew everything back then. And we don't get to peek behind the curtain and see. Teachers only know what they're teaching. They like read up on it the day before they teach it. Yes, they go to school to learn to teach, but not anymore, because now they're just learning to indoctrinate and teach kids that Christopher Columbus was a racist, homophobe, whatever, right? When in fact he was a missionary, the exact opposite. And in fact, he wrote, I don't know if you know this, but Howard Zinn wrote in his A People's History of America, which is a communist book about America, and it's being taught in our public schools now. He wrote, and he misquoted and selectively quoted Christopher Columbus to say that the indigenous peoples that he discovered in the New World would be very easily enslaved and would make excellent slaves. And Christopher Columbus wrote that in his diary as a way of saying somebody needs to empower these people with a vision of Christ and their value to God so that they are not so easily enslaved, because otherwise they will be. But Howard Zinn took everything out of context. And so that's what they're teaching kids. And your teacher who was the teacher for your son who did that project, your teacher believes that Christopher Columbus was a racist, bad person. And so she's proud of your son for reiterating that in such a, in the way that he did. And he probably did an excellent job making that case, because the source material makes that case, right? But it's wrong.
Yeah, so right. It's interesting because at the time I didn't know. I knew, in my gut, I knew that, it didn't feel right. I'm like, who would say this? And so in my usual fashion, I went and purchased everything I could on Christopher Columbus, original, source translate, anything I could find. And of course, drew my family in, and we researched and studied and learned together. And what we learned is that he felt inspired by God to go forth and search out the new land. And he wrote about that very specific language about feeling promptings from the Holy Ghost to do things and to go look. And so I felt stronger and more passionate about Christopher Columbus and what he did after researching and really studying and learning about him. Also, let me add that I think the following year, that same history teacher won an award in the district for being one of the best history teachers in the county.
Well, you know what you need to do to become a best loved teacher? You just need to have a bowl of candy and give kids candy when they come in to hug you, or actually no hugs allowed anymore, but when they come to see you. And as long as you have that bowl of candy, you become beloved. Listen, Tina, I'm going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, I want to talk about this organization you started. You are my heroine. You saw something that was wrong and you set out to try to fix it, running for school board, trying to serve on the school board, and then recognizing that it was, and you would have continued to serve, frankly. I think that it was not fair the way that you lost your seat on the school board. And so I want to talk to you about the pervading ideology that is already out in our school boards and the way that our school boards are trained and all of that when we come back. So we're just going to take a quick break right here. For those on radio, stay put. We'll be right back. And everybody watching on video, you can find more segments if you just click subscribe, and don't forget to like the videos. Thanks so much. I'll be right back.